genuinely surprised at my reaction at how beautiful it is, and it feels very me. I have two 1073s and some Avalons and a couple of other kind of little mic pre's that are always my go-to. Of course, I was curious, like, will this beat what I know? And it really did. I would absolutely consider a sidecar of all these amazing Harrison Mix strips, absolutely. In fact, I want one. My name is Catherine Marks. I'm a mixer, producer and engineer. I was lucky enough to be given some demo products for the Harrison mix strips, and purely out of curiosity integrated them into my mix bus, which consists of the fat-busted summing mixer, an Obsidian compressor, Manley Massive Passive EQ and a VAC Rack EQ. And now another third EQ is the Harrison mix strips, and I've really been enjoying them, sort of trialling in between the kind of VAC Rack, which is a more severe 2 dB steps of various frequencies, whereas this is, you can be more subtle or you can be really bold, but top end is really beautiful. It sounds really pretty, but not pretty at the same time. I tend to kind of boost a lot of, I love low mids and I love mid-range and the sort of chunkier frequencies. The VAC Rack definitely kind of contributes to those sort of frequencies, as does the Fat Busted. It kind of really boosts the mids and the low mids to my ear. And this, it doesn't soften it, but it adds the kind of pretty sparkle that I don't have in my mix chain at this point. Things like sort of cymbals or acoustic guitars, it highlights them, but without making them aggressive, that horrible frequencies that you don't like. It also has this sort of lovely dip in the mid-range and low mids, which I tend to really push, but really subtle. So it's almost like I'm mastering it with the EQ, sort of easy, sexy plug-in at the end of my mix bus chain. I got into producing and mixing kind of by accident, really. I'd always wanted to work in music production or behind the scenes, but I didn't know what area. So I started just by making tea for a producer called Flood in his studio in northwest London called Battery Studios. Little by little started to kind of learn the various disciplines and eventually ended up assisting Alan Mulder, who is an amazing mixer and producer. He one day just said to me, imagine yourself as a mixer. Forget about all the other things. I was very grateful that I did, because it's made me understand how to kind of complete the process. Through mixing projects for various artists, they then wanted me to produce them. So it was all kind of not by design, but by accident that I just sort of fell into these roles, but it took a long time. One of my favourite projects, or most memorable projects, is the Boygenius record, which we made at the beginning of 2022 in Shangri-La in Malibu. We spent 32 days non-stop making magic, but it was just that we were kind of living together and kind of living and breathing this record. One of those moments where every day I was getting kind of butterflies for what we were producing. A more recent project that I'm really excited about is an English band called Divorce, and we spent the beginning of 2024 at Real World Studios in Bath. Such a gorgeous setting, and the studio, there's no sort of separation between control room and live room, which I love that kind of thing. It's hard to get your head around. The monitoring, once you do, the ease of communication. We just had so many instruments and sort of recording stations set up, and the band were a lot of fun, and the songs were quite quirky, and it was lovely to kind of be engaged with them and their sort of wild creativity. One of the other roles that I am particularly proud of is being one of the directors for the MPG, the Music Producers Guild. And we are 6 volunteers essentially who spend our time advocating for engineers and producers and now studios, which is great. And all we're trying to do is kind of better our working environment situations and kind of campaign to help change policies to kind of better our industry, as well as the amazing Music Producers Guild Awards, which we have yearly. We're just sort of getting better and better and able to do more stuff because we're all interested in different things and come at it from a lot of different disciplines. But ultimately, everyone on the board is working in the industry. We're producers, mastering engineers, writers, mixers. So we know what our industry is looking for, and we speak quite often to our community to find out what they're looking for as well. Towards the end of 2024, I worked on this beautiful record with a band, very heavily acoustic instrument led, things like banjo, harp, and acoustic guitar. And just because it had arrived and I had a new fun toy, I really wanted to try it. It just was our staple. I think we had a KM84 running through it. I didn't even compress it, just, played with the gain. So yeah, we were sort of heavily reliant on it in the end for that 3-week process. I have 2 1073s and some Avalons and a couple of other kind of little mic pre's that are always my go-to. Of course, I was curious, like, will this beat what I know? And it really did. I kind of want more of them, so I can have one permanently on my mix bus and then another pair to use for recording. There's nothing daunting about this, and it feels kind of very intuitive and genuinely, surprised at my reaction at how kind of beautiful it is, and it feels very me. I don't know, that's such a weird thing to say, but it is definitely a product that's going to become part of my workflow. That has become part of my workflow. When I started started sort of playing with it in my mix bus chain, it's sort of hard to kind of gauge what frequencies you're fiddling with. I mean, it references it, but in a very broad way. So it is really through ear that you're kind of gauging what works and what doesn't work. And in a way, I kind of like that. To be able to have sort of multiple for tracking as well as in my mix bus. And that is kind of what's unique about them. I've never considered my Neve EQs to be part of the mix bus. I guess because in my head, the way they kind of operate is similar to the back rack and the massive passive. Whereas this feels like something unique that I don't have. And I would love the option to have them for tracking as well as permanently on my mix bus. I would absolutely consider a sidecar of all these amazing Harrison mix strips, absolutely. In fact, I want one.